So hello everyone, welcome here to round number 1 of the 2020 NASA RallyCross Challenge season here on the Automotive Sports Network. It looks a little bit different, and that's because we've gone back to iRacing, as Josh Mertz bringing you the call as always for the Automotive Sports Network. A couple things you'll notice here. 24 cars are about to take part on this track for the first round of the championship. So for the first time ever, we had to have a pre-qualifying round, which was the hour-long practice that allows the top 20 cars to make the show. 4 heats, 6 laps apiece, Joker lap once. The top 2 will transfer. There's 2 LCQs, basically semifinals of 4 laps each, and you have to take the Joker lap once. The winner will transfer, so then we will have 10 laps, 2 Jokers, 10 cars for the final here on iRacing. And I can tell you that this first race of the season is going to set the tempo, set the stage, whatever other cliche that you would like to use, and it's certainly going to be fairly interesting. As we take a look here in qualifying, we'll look and see the running order as Mertz leaves the pit lane there to run another lap. Currently on pole position is Magnus Okenhag, then it's Jake Robertson, Matt Hartley, and one of the Kingsbury brothers, as it doesn't specify. We have a lot of good drivers here getting ready to take part. A couple of drivers that did not qualify for the round of Daytona, Chad Mikas and James South. They did not get through pre-qualifying, so they will be 21st and 22nd. And we do have 2 provisionals. It's Doug Denice and Jacob Kraus. So let's take a look here at the 6-time champion. The MRT team got a little bit confused as to stamping the numbers. There's an 81 and then a 2 on top of it. They're a little confused. Don't worry about that. 40.954 is his fastest lap. He's going to finish up the session here. 40.425 for Okenhag. He will have pole position if he can win the first heat. And it's been a tricky track. The pre-qualifying, they laid dirt down once, and then they did not lay dirt down again. So at the end of that session, it was essentially a Grand Prix racetrack for open-wheel cars. And the fact of the matter is this track rubbers in, and keeps going. But here we are for the first heat race here in Daytona. Magnus Okenhag on pole position, the Norwegian. And then I want to say it'd be John Dipple once timing refreshes. There we are. Philip Kraus, Josh Kosick, and Nick Dawson getting ready for the first heat race of the season. Now, the points have changed a little bit. You will get 3 points for winning the heat, 2 points for transferring, and 1 point for winning the semifinal or the LCQ, or whatever term you want to call it. Getting ready to go in Daytona for 6 laps. Green flag. Off the line, Kraus gets a good jump as the 2 LRL cars in the middle. Dipple there, and then Okenhag as Kosick hits Kraus, sliding as the defending champion, saves it 3 wide as Okenhag at the line will take the lead and take the whole shot. Into the first couple of corners, Kosick as battling Dipple with Kraus over the jump for the first time. Okenhag over the jump, nearly lost it as Kosick getting close. And Dipple fighting the defending champion. Car number 1, you'll notice that Red Bull is no longer a entitlement sponsor of the MRT squad. And Dipple slides it along with Dawson. And those 2 cars out of the equation. Looks like they'll have to go to the semifinal. Now it's a matter to see if Kraus can get by Kosick. Remember, no jokers on the first lap of the race here in NASA RallyCross. So the leader, Magnus Okenhag, comes off the final corner. And in his first lap in NASA, leads the first lap by about 0.8 of a second. That gap is growing as they take the jump. 4 Subarus and a Volkswagen. in this first heat race. As we pay attention to this battle for second, this is the transfer spot. Kosick on the inside defending on Kraus. Okenhog loves this. He's just going to say, keep doing this. I would love to be able to pull away from the rear camera of the 26. He takes to the Joker. Kosick follows him as well. So now we'll have to see if Kraus can take the fight and make up that gap on the Joker lap. As you see, he does have the red number plate, being the defending champion of the NASA Rallycross Challenge. Season number 20 for the campaign here in 2020A, and it's definitely a better start to iRacing than before. As we did have another card that did not pre-qualify, I forgot to mention in the opening, it was Dylan Livengood who qualified 23rd. So that gave us the 25 cars. Jokering is Kraus. Will he get ahead of Kosick? He will, but he does not get ahead of Okenhog. So the Norwegian, trying to do what Tanner Smith did so many moons ago and win on his debut. He's still got a long way to go, but we'll have to see what happens. There's a lot of fast guys in this series this season. And Kraus is becoming one of them. As we know last season, on the Generation 3 regulations, he romped away with the championship while his teammate faltered. And we know that Mertz isn't the quickest with these cars. The rumor is he might be retiring soon. We'll have to keep an eyeball on the broadcast, keep an eyeball on social channels to see what will happen there. 2 laps to go for Okenhog. If we take a look at the lap times for Philip Kraus, best lap is a 39.418. If we take a look at Okenhog, 39.589. So this is getting certainly interesting. As we take a look at the delta, it was nearly 3 seconds on that first lap before the Joker rotation, but we're coming to the white flag, and Kraus is coming. Kraus is faster than the 26. As we take the white flag here in Daytona for the first heat of the season. Through the jump, 26-1 leading the race. 26 Okenhog, a little bit squirrely over the jump, but it's interesting. If you end up that way, you can more than likely end up surviving. Into the hairpin. Kraus is getting close. Will he make a move into the hairpin, or will he sacrifice that extra bonus point to make it into the final cleanly? Huge gap for Dipple, Kosick, and Dawson to make up. I don't think it's going to happen. Into the final corner. On the outside is Kraus, inside is Okenhog, and Magnus Okenhog will win and take pole position for the round of Daytona ahead of Philip Kraus, John Dipple, Josh Kosick, and Nick Dawson. We'll have to head to the semifinal, the LCQ, as we take a look at the results quickly there. Confirmation of Okenhog's victory over Kraus. So now we take a look at heat number 2. And this should be a fairly fantastic race as well. We have Jake Robertson, Devin Morgan, Austin Derbyshire, Matt Kingsbury, Brandon Lambert on the grid for the second heat in Daytona. Green flag. Robertson gets a great jump. Morgan stuck in the middle. And then into turn number 1, Derbyshire, who won on debut in Sonoma on iRacing in 2019A. As we take the first lap, Robertson leads. We know how stupid quick Robertson is, the British driver. And Devin Morgan as well. 2 youngsters in the NASA Rallycross Challenge trying to eclipse Dylan Smith of the record that he set back in 2012B. But we will have to keep you updated on that, of course. As Derbyshire into Morgan, and then he gets into the way at Kingsbury. He's going to let them through. Gentlemanly move for the Canadian, from the Canadian, I should say. And Jake Robertson pulling away, second and a half already over Devin Morgan and Matt Kingsbury as well. As we will, over the jump, lost cameras there for a little bit, but Robertson still leads. And Morgan in second, Kingsbury, Derbyshire, and Lambert. So let's go on board the 222 and see exactly how to drive this car. That just shows how quick this guy is. Over the jump, gets the car to rotate and fly through the air. And that was something that the MRT drivers couldn't figure out either. They were talking about it on their team scanner. They couldn't entirely figure out what happened. As Lambert gets by Derbyshire, it looks like Kingsbury has crashed in the 21. So the Spark VR Last Lap Motorsports team not having a good day, but their sister team, you can call that, sister-sponsored team, Philip Kraus on MRT, having a good day. Robertson takes 2 laps to go, 3.6 seconds ahead of Devin Morgan, and it's 5.5 back to Lambert. Derbyshire Jokers in the Subaru, in the 64. So you'll put him ahead of the inaugural champion of the NASA RallyCross Challenge back in 2012A, Brandon Lambert. And Kingsbury, 13 seconds back after crashing over the jump. So as we take a look from high above, Jake Robertson holds the lead. He will not joker, as it looks like he has, according to timing, everyone has jokered in this heat race. 1 lap to go. 4 seconds from Robertson to Morgan. And looking at the lap times, best lap, actually Morgan was quicker than Robertson by 0.3 of a second, but that was a couple laps ago. It's not going to help him now. So through the hairpin, that corner is so critical. You have to get the car as close as you can to that tire barrier, through that dirt in 4th gear to get the torque through. I don't think Morgan's going to have anything for him. He doesn't have to worry, as he will still transfer. And jokering is Robertson. As I'm not entirely sure according to timing and scoring, but we'll have to take a look. Morgan 2nd, Derbyshire 3rd, Lambert 4th, Kingsbury in 5th. So confirmation of the 2nd heat races results: Jake Robertson, Devin Morgan, Austin Derbyshire, Brandon Lambert, and Matt Kingsbury. As we get ready for the 3rd heat race here in Daytona. Matt Hartley on pole position, as we have Cody Erdman, Chris Wetz, Jacob Harberts, and Flynn Lazier for the 3rd MRT car. Another 6 laps here in Daytona. Green flag. Off the line, Harberts, who struggled in the Volkswagen the first time we were on iRacing, leads us as Flynn Lazier nearly gets turned by Hartley. Start looks pretty good so far. Side by side for second. Hartley over Lazier. Lazier having some connection issues over the jump there in car number 3. This is going to help Harberts, who is pulling away with the lead. Into the hairpin for the first time. Hartley, Lazier, Wetz, and Erdman. Lazier having issues in car number 3, the other Spark VR car for MRT. Remember, no jokers on the first lap of the race. And no one takes to the joker. The gap, Harberts was 0.4 of a second faster than Hartley on the first lap of the race, but Hartley so much quicker than Harberts over the jump and into the first sector there. Take a look at the track map, we can see how separated this field is. Harberts, Hartley, and Flynn Lazier coming through the chicane there into the final corners. We enter sector 3. Harberts will joker ahead of Hartley to take the third lap. And now Hartley, the gap I would say is about 1.5 seconds. So if Hartley can maintain that gap, which clearly he has, he's going to be able to take this lead. But like I've said, for the past 8 years, anything can happen in NASA Rallycross, and it usually does. Through the dirt for the first time. Third time, a little bit dyslexic there. It's been a long week. Blame the quarantine. Hartley jokers in the Subaru. So we'll put Matt Hartley through to the lead. And the Australian ahead of the American over the jump as we begin halfway in heat number 3. So we've seen the track on board a Ford. Let's take a look on board a Subaru. It's an interesting strategy for Hartley. His team either can't afford first or second gears, or he's figured out a strategy to stay in the low gears to reduce wheel spin. What was interesting is he's not being bogged down. He's carrying his momentum extremely well in car number 48. So Hartley, Harberts, Lazier, Erdman, and Wetz, your running order in heat number 3. As we come down through the road course for the final time in the third heat in Daytona. Hartley obviously already jokered. Harberts has as well. So that confirms that Hartley, heat number 3 winner, and Harberts transfers as well. As to the LCQ, Flynn Lazier, Cody Erdman, and Chris Wetz. As the 71. Struggling to get used to this car still. But he certainly is faring better than his teammate, Dylan Livengood. As we do get confirmation on that third heat result by 2.5 seconds, Hartley over Harberts. This is going to be an interesting one. As a couple of cars here, Ray Kingsbury, Josh Mertz, Jean Gronquist, Kevin Guy-Dorsich, green flag, along with Justin Brent. Into turn number 1. through the first corner. The Finnish driver will lead us. It's Granqvist ahead of Mertz, Kingsbury, and Guy Dorsich. Remember, Guy Dorsich and Derbyshire 1-2 in their first ever race back in 2019 So we have another Volkswagen, 2 of them in the field, I do believe. 3 of them, sorry there, 3 of them in the field. As he gets a little bit loose there over the turtle, and around Granqvist goes and take him out of the equation. So now we're going to take a look at a battle that really, as Mertz ramps over the curb as well in the 2, into the hairpin. We were just about to talk about it, but I think he got a slowdown penalty. So we'll have to send the 2 out of it, put him from the lead back to third. He has to stop to get the slowdown cleared, and Granqvist there as well. So from first to second, back to third to fourth, and no transfer spot. Justin Brand struggling in the 66 as well. Off the road, Guy Dorsich in the 6. And this is huge for Kingsbury, as the last lap team has been really the best of the midfield in those Ford Fiestas. Really getting the upper hand as Guy Dorsich and Derbyshire kind of on the tail end of the alien pace that we've seen. And the Subaru MRT team, Mertz is on one end of the spectrum, and Kraus is at the other. Guy Dorsich jokers in the 6, puts him closer to Kingsbury, but Kingsbury still holds the delta as Guy Dorsich went off the road there. Continuing the struggle bus is car number 2. And Granqvist rolls it in the 75 and take him out of heat number 4. So I think he had an ugly wreck over the jump. We'll try and take another look at that in just a moment. As Kingsbury and Guy Dorsich still hold those spots. We're taking crossed flags here in Daytona. 1.2 seconds from Kingsbury to Guy Dorsich. If we take a look at how the delta has progressed, the delta's grown from half a second up to 1.2, so 0.7 of a second difference over the first 3 laps. And these guys are kind of at an advantage compared to the first heat, because obviously the track wears in. The track crew does not place more dirt down. So it's unlike Supercross, for example, where they replace the dirt, they re-rake the dirt after the heat races in the LCQ. This dirt is changed for qualifying, laid back down, and that's it. So at the end of this, we might see some asphalt come in. But it's hard to tell. You can tell the rubber is becoming to be prevalent on the tail end of the jump there. Gap has been raised by a second this last lap with 2 laps to go. We might not see the 2 recover from that issue that he had on the first couple of laps, because he was having some steering issues as well. That's why he pulled over entering the hairpin. As white flag for Kingsbury in the 25. Guy Dorsich holds second. The gap is shrinking from Mertz to Guy Dorsich, but I don't think he'll have enough time, especially if he does that and drives it off the road on the jump. So I would like to say that this heat race is done and dusted, but of course we've seen crazier things. Into the final corner, Ray Kingsbury ahead of Kevin Guy Dorsich. They will seed 7th and 8th in the round of Daytona. Checkered flag. And that means to the semifinal goes Mertz, Bren, and Granqvist. So all the timing will say C main, but this is the first LCQ here in Daytona. The winner transfers out of both of these races, and they will seed 9th and 10th in the race. 4 laps, getting ready to go. Dipple, Erdman, Kosick, Lazier, Dawson, and Wetz. Green flag. Off the line, Lazier gets turned by Dipple and Dawson into Wetz. A little bit of a cluster as we begin the first lap. Kosick leads ahead of Dipple, Erdman, Wetz, Dawson, and Lazier. So the Volkswagen ahead of a Subaru, 2 Fords, a Subaru, and another Subaru. Hits the curb there, runs it wide. Dipple trying to take the fight, join his teammate in the final. As we remember, Magnus Okenhag won the pole position, fastest man on the circuit. But Dipple struggled in his heat race. From high above. To end the first lap, Kosick ahead of Dipple, 0.3 of a second over the jump. The Subaru can carry a little bit more speed, but it is a longer wheelbase car. As Kosick, different line, runs it wide, Dipple to the inside. Side by side, entering the oval. To the inside, Dipple tried it, thought better of it, but he's going to get the better run. Side by side, nearly contact, very clean racing between the two drivers. And put Dipple through to the lead. As Wetz in third, waiting for these guys to clash. They both joker in the first opportunity on lap 2. That wasn't a good idea for Kosick, I don't think, because now he cannot try and alternate the strategy to get ahead of Dipple. It's good for Wetz, though, because Wetz can close the gap. We know Wetz likes to joker very late in the race as Kosick off the road in the Volkswagen. And car number 41, that might have sealed his fate. There's a lap and a half to go, but 3 seconds is the delta, and they already jokered. So not a good day. As we focus on our race leader, John Dipple in car number 34. White flag. Wetz takes the joker, puts him to second, but it's not going to help him transfer through. As the drivers in the, quote, C main, as timing calls it, will receive the odd place points in the classification. 11th, 13th, 15th, 17th, and 19th. So Wetz, first man out, will get 11th unless something goes wrong, but it's a 4-second delta now between Dipple and Wetz. So the man from Texas, I don't think he's going to make it. Final corner for John Dipple. We'll get 2 British drivers into the final in Daytona. So the international flavor really coming along as Wetz is the first man out, along with Erdman, 2-time champion of the series, Flynn Lazier, Josh Kosick, and Nick Dawson. So we get confirmation on those results. Dipple, Wetz, Erdman, Kosick, Dawson, and Lazier. The second LCQ about to begin here in Daytona. We have Josh Mertz, Austin Derbyshire, Jan Granquist, Brandon Lambert. And I believe we're missing Matt Kingsbury, so we'll have to wait and see when he grids. So it's another 4-lap race, 6 cars, winner transfers. And this means that we're going to have at least one other champion not make the race. Getting ready to go in Daytona once again. Green flag. Off the line, Lambert gets pinched by Granquist and take him out of the equation already as we round the first corner. And Derbyshire leads over Mertz. Over the jump, Bren in the 66 over the jump. Kingsbury, Granquist, and Lambert. And like we mentioned for the last race, this isn't like what we're used to. You only get 1 car that transfers out. They do this so there's not 12 cars racing for 2 spots, which is a very good idea. into the dirt. 0.2 of a second side by side, Derbyshire and Mertz. This is going to be a great race because we know from Sonoma in 2019A that these guys are close on pace. Into the final corner. Jokers will now be allowed. Grandquist off the road. Derbyshire leads, 3 to go. 0.4 of a second between the two Subarus. Kingsbury waiting in the wings if something happens. And Mertz got a better run through the corner, runs it a little bit wide, so that's going to ruin his advantage over Derbyshire. Taking a look at the delta, it was 3.5 tenths from Derbyshire to Mertz that last lap. Derbyshire jokers, so Mertz is going to do the opposite, of course, and that's going to put him obviously in the lead, but his strategy's done, so now he has to drive defensively. So according to the delta that last lap, it is 1.7 seconds for the Joker. .6, and I think Derbyshire might be driving a little bit conservative so he doesn't lose anything. Kingsbury pressuring the two. We know these guys becoming very good friends off the track, but on the track, everyone still hates each other. Jokering is the two of Mertz. Exiting the Joker, I think they're going to be side by side as we take the white flag into the chicane. Derbyshire and Mertz, they make contact, and around the two goes into the tires. And he's stuck in there. And that's it. For the first time since 2019B in Munich, Germany, Mertz is out. So Kingsbury has to Joker, and the delta is much more than a second. So I think this might be Kingsbury's race as Derbyshire got held up by the two. And Kingsbury will Joker in the 21 and rob Derbyshire of a transfer spot. Kingsbury cedes 10th. Derbyshire 12th. Lambert 14th. Grandquist 16th. Bren 18th. And Mertz comes home in 20th. Last car classified for the Daytona Grand Prix. So clarification and confirmation of the B main results: Kingsbury, Derbyshire, Lambert, Grandquist, Bren, and Mertz. As warm-up begins here in Daytona. So just a refresher, if you're just joining our coverage here on the Automotive Sports Network, we are in the final for the Daytona RallyCross Grand Prix, round number 1 of the 2020A season. We did have 25 cars on the entry list. Late provisional of Jacob Kraus is why that graphic is incorrect there. We had our pre-qualifying much earlier on in the day. Top 20 transferred into the main show. Our heats are completed. Our LCQs are completed. Now we're in the final round of the race day. 10 laps, Joker twice, and 10 cars. It's a 90-degree day here in Daytona Beach, and not a lot of wind at all. So this track gripped up. It's going to be at its best as we get ready to race. We take a look at the warm-up so far. Guy Dorsich, 33.697. I don't think that that's an accurate lap, although I do think that was a joker lap. We'll have to take a look and see. That's Robertson, Morgan, Kraus, Dipple. Jacob Harberts, Matt Hartley, Ray Kingsbury, Magnus Okenhog, and Matt Kingsbury. So a good mix of drivers here. No Volkswagens in the field, as we do have, if I can count correctly, I think that's an even split of 5 between Fords and Subarus. So a big change, big difference than 2019A, when 2019A was nothing but Subarus. Matt Kingsbury as Harbert's off the road in the 80. So we have about a minute and a half left of warm-up. The points are going to be pretty much the same as they are after today's race, as we'll show you, obviously, the results of the final. As next week, we should have a live broadcast instead of a delayed one, and it should be on High Voltage Media Productions. We say should because the details aren't ironed out yet, so it's a pretty tentative thing. We should have Dylan Livingood and Dylan Body calling the race from the Atlanta Motor Speedway in Hampton, Georgia. But keep an eyeball on the Discord server, keep an eyeball on the socials. And of course, we will let you know. If you are wanting to join, we will have the Discord link on the description of this broadcast, and it's also on the main graphic that popped up at the start. Not expecting you guys to go back, of course. But 23 cars physically here, 25 after the provisionals. Biggest field by far for the NASA RallyCross Challenge in the 20th season, and it is certainly a long time coming. The format's finally been ironed out, and there will be no issues there. As these guys didn't warm up, these times really obviously don't matter. Harbert's 25.744. That is a glitched time in the scoring loop. Not necessarily that it matters. These guys just trying to get their final laps in, really rubber in the track. That's probably the most important part, as these cars, once they get gripped up, it's going to be a good race. They're going to be on rails, but it's going to be a very, very good race. As we'll take a look, let's see if this one works here. We're completely figuring out if the grid's going to work or not. I don't think that graphic's going to work for us. Oh, there we go. So Magnus Okenhog on pole, Jake Robertson, Matt Hartley, Ray Kingsbury, John Dipple, Morgan, Harberts. As I don't think this is entirely correct, but of course, we will let you know. As blame our timing and scoring. It's not the greatest. Getting ready for the first round of the 2020A season. And this is going to be an absolutely fantastic race. Many nations represented: Britain, Australia, US, Canada, Norway. 20th season, green flag. Off the line, 3 wide. Hartley, Robertson, and Okenhog into turn 1, 3 wide. It looks like it's Morgan, Kraus, and Kingsbury there as we begin the first lap of the race. Robertson out to a huge lead already, and this is not what these guys wanted to see, as we know that Robertson is a very, very quick driver, on pace to be a World Championship driver in Rallycross on iRacing soon. But it all depends on when the season falls. As Robertson is jokering on the first lap. So this is not what he needs, because this is an automatic DQ from the session for the 222, and you'll have to take him out of the equation already. So we'll take a look at Aukenhog in the 26, while timing lists Robertson as the leader until he parks. Aukenhog is the leader ahead of Hartley and ahead of Kraus. So this is getting interesting. Aukenhog leads ahead of Hartley, ahead of Kraus. We'll take a look in the middle of the field here between Kingsbury and Harberts. Kingsbury thought about jokering and thought better of it. As Aukenhog, half a second gap between him and Hartley. And Devin Morgan getting very close as well in the 112. As obviously Philip Kraus will lose that red number plate, as you might have noticed, might have seen on the timing and scoring, if he obviously cannot win this race. And Magnus Aukenhog looks to take over that for Atlanta, as the Norwegian wants to continue that momentum into his home race in Hell, Norway. There's going to be 2 rounds at that track. That's going to be some fun racing as well. Morgan jokers, gets by Hartley. Hartley on the rear wing of the Ford. Robertson still has not parked. Race control sent that message out again. And I don't know if he's received the message or not. Looks like he has. So Robertson out of the final. And it's a mistake that many drivers have made, as these guys run the official Rallycross series, and there is no restrictions on joker laps then. But in NASA Rallycross, on the Spirit competition, there absolutely is. Hartley jokers, does he pip the 112 of Morgan? Absolutely he does, by nearly a full second over the Ford Fiesta. And I don't think Kraus has jokered yet, so the defending champion in car number 1, he certainly wants to get on the podium and take something out of this weekend for the team. As MRT tentatively in the results, I believe 15th and 20th. Not a good day for the Austrian squad. So we have 9 cars so far. Jokering is Morgan, along with Kraus and along with Kingsbury. Where does this put them? It puts Morgan in front of Hartley again, and I think this is hindering him, because I think Matt Hartley is quicker than Aukenhog, but he can't get the clear track. Meanwhile, Aukenhog absolutely loves this. Let's take a look at the delta times in the last couple of laps. So maxed out at about 3 seconds. And for a moment there, Hartley got by side between Morgan and Hartley. Onto the backstretch, into the final corner. Hartley's got a joker again, so this is going to change that up, and I think that completes Hartley's strategy. So he's got 3 laps to try and reel in the 26. That's a huge gap for Hartley to make up. 2.7 seconds is the delta. We take a history of the laps here. Because like I said, it's one of our newer timing systems, and apparently it doesn't want to work all the way. 3 to go for Magnus Aukenhog, ahead of Hartley. 2.7 seconds. Morgan got by Kraus, although I don't think Kraus has taken his second joker yet. As we'll ride on board the race leader in car number 26. You have to see how tight of a line you have to run through that sector. Pip the handbrake maybe if it'll help you get around the corner. As we come to the white flag, here in Daytona Beach. And the season opener typically is a very chaotic race. White flag for Oakenhog. There's drivers like Elliott Porterfield, Tanner Smith, Marwan Moftah, David Krikorian that you will join if you can pull a victory off in your first start. And to join a fellow compatriot of Tanner Smith. We haven't seen Tanner since 2016A. It's been a super long time, but he was very successful in his short time in the series. And we can then have Magnus Oakenhog, the young driver from Norway, take over. Final corner, checkered flag for Magnus Oakenhog. He wins in Daytona Beach. Hartley second, Kraus gets by Morgan for third, so we will have an MRT car on the podium. As Ray pips his brother for fifth, Harbert seventh, Dipple eighth, Guy Dorsich ninth, and Robertson will come home in 10th. So your race winner here in Daytona Beach, Magnus Oakenhog. As his teammate John Dipple celebrate, Kraus celebrates as well. It's NASA tradition to just have everyone celebrate at the exact same time. Confirmation of the results for the Daytona RallyCross Grand Prix. Magnus Oakenhog is your winner, 2.7 seconds ahead of Matt Hartley. Philip Kraus rounds out the podium in third. Devin Morgan, Matt Kingsbury, Ray Kingsbury. So a good day for the Spark VR Last Lap Motorsports team. Harbert, Dipple, Guy Dorsich, and Robertson is your feature results. The second LCQ, Derbyshire, Lambert, Granquist, Bren, and Mertz. That will be 12th through 20th, 14th, 16th, 18th, 20th, to do simple math, as these guys not having the greatest days due to incidents, bad luck, pace, whatever it may be. And 11th through 19th, the odd results, unofficially, and this is with Lazier. There was a penalty issued, so according to timing, 6th, but there was a couple spots higher. Wetz, Erdman, Cossack, Dawson, and Flynn Lazier. So that's about it here in Daytona Beach. Thank you for hanging out, enjoying a little bit of a wonky race with the timing and scoring issues, but hopefully we'll get those ironed out for next week in Atlanta. Congratulations to Magnus Oakenhog winning on debut, and we hope to see you next week in Hampton, Georgia. But until then, so long, everyone.